Hey folks, if you were here in my house in Greensboro and you could sit on my couch with me, what would we talk about? What would be the topic of the day? Would you have something pressing that you would want to talk about? Or would we go to easy topics or to talk about people? I heard years ago that the easiest thing to talk about is other people. The hardest thing to talk about are ideas. If you want to discuss Marxism, that's a lot harder to discuss than what Hazel and Gladys were doing last weekend. This brings up something I've been considering lately. One of my best friends has moved to Greensboro from a different state, and he's never lived in North Carolina before. And he said, "Gosh, everybody here gossips." And I said, "Really? What do you mean?" Because he doesn't know anybody here. We're in very similar circles. And he said, "I just noticed people talk about other people a lot." I said, "Oh, well, that's not necessarily gossip, though." And it has made me question, what is gossip? If you were sitting here on my couch with me and you wanted to share a story about another person, it might not necessarily be gossip. Of course, it could be. I want to talk about that for a minute. How do we define gossip? I have been in teacher lunchrooms, and you're sitting there with 6 or 8 other individuals, and it's very easy to talk about students. And the way that I set the guardrails on my discussion when talking about another student, I'm asking myself, is this discussion meant to enlighten, educate, encourage, inform, those sorts of things? Or is it merely me or us venting, unloading frustration, that sort of thing? And are we in any way slandering the name of the person, the character of the person who isn't here to defend himself? So I think, well, first off, I'm from West Virginia, and I come particularly from a family that's all about storytelling. I mean, we're just constantly telling and retelling stories. And some of those stories get passed down generation by generation by generation. When my mom's mother was still living, if you mentioned the name of a relative way back through the line, his name was Smith Webb. Yes, 2 last names, Smith Webb. Instantly, she would say, "Oh, yes, he put strychnine in the well, killed his family, and they sent him off to Weston." Now that detail is debated in my family, whether he actually went to Weston or whether he was sent to prison or what have you. But that story is, she gave the little dust jacket version. Mama would always say, "Oh yes, he put strychnine in the well, killed his whole family, and sent him to Weston, the mental institution." And so that story, you could say, well, we shouldn't talk about Smith Webb. He's not here to defend himself. It's a good story, though. It's a really good story. And we want to pass that down and share that story generation to generation. Pick somebody who's still living, so-and-so down the road, so-and-so we're related to. They have had some tragedy in life. You know as well as I do that one of the things we love to discuss most is someone else's misfortune. Do we not love that? And you call somebody and say, "I need you to pray for somebody." Is that really why we're calling? Or do you want to unload some juicy piece of news? I also think, if you know me well, you know that I love Adrian Rogers. I've listened to him for years. He is the finest preacher I have ever listened to. And he said, anytime you speak at all about another person, The information should pass through these 3 golden gates. Is it true? You know it to be true. Is it kind? And is it necessary? That third one's the hard one. That third one, is it necessary? Does it need to be said? And so I think about the conversations that I have. I talk to family, friends, acquaintances, clients with real estate, co-workers in the teaching profession, parents of students. I do a bit of ministry type work also. I sing at my church, and I'm just about to start teaching a new class at my church for young adults. And I encounter a lot of people, and a lot of that conversation is about, oh, well, my sister does such and such. Well, do you know my mom? She's, and have you met my nephew? He's like, we're constantly referring to other people. I don't think referring is necessarily gossip. And let me interrupt myself by saying this. I don't think we want to be legalistic with it either. You know, my friend who mentioned this to me, I think this is an excellent thing to consider. Don't we want to err on the side of caution? I know even I have family members who may face some sort of misfortune in life and say, please don't tell people about this. And other family members will say, well, why not? Don't you want people praying for you on that issue? Certainly. There's no question. We want people to pray for us always, in good times and in bad. But maybe those individuals are aware that conversations so easily turn into discussion, speculation, gossip. Here we go. My definition. When I think of gossip, I am saying something behind a person's back that person would not want said. There you go. I think we often go toward slander, but there are lots of things that an individual might not want said about him, even if they are true, even if they are kind. But that necessary topic, the person doesn't want it said. John and Jane Doe just got some huge piece of inheritance property from the death of a long-forgotten uncle. It's true. It's kind. They may not want people to know that. And so me sitting in my living room here on the couch with you, and we talk about John and Jane Doe. Did you hear what they just got? 2,500 acres of land. Had a long-lost uncle who died. Oh, you know what happens next? We turn that in the why hadn't they spoken? Oh, well, was it his mother's brother? Oh, well, I heard. As soon as you say I heard, we're going in a bad direction. Hear me out. I'm not casting stones. And if you feel like I'm somehow calling you out, I'm not. I'm just shooting down a hole. It's your own fault if you're down in that hole. I'm primarily thinking about it for myself. I tend to think I have a really strong conviction around gossip. But if my friend called it out, I want to be cautious. I want to think about it. Am I guilty of that? Am I guilty of speaking things that another individual would not want said? And if someone else initiates that conversation, how do we reroute it? I can think of one situation in a teacher's lunchroom at school a few years ago. I don't remember who we were discussing, but there was a number of people sitting there at the table. There were a number of people sitting there at the table. And I had something I wanted to say, but I also had the conviction of, I think we're getting dangerously close to gossip. And so before I said anything, I began with the line, well, actually, this makes me think of something, but I just want to be really careful. I'm sure none of us wants to be guilty of gossip. And that's me included. And there were a few people around the table who went, yeah. You can say that in a way that sounds really self-righteous. And you can also say it in a way that includes yourself. I am just as involved in this conversation as you are. Okay? That's a big thing on my mind lately. Thinking about gossip and how we talk about people. This isn't a topic that I can put a tidy bow on either. It's something that we each have to consider in our own hearts and in our own lives and in our own habits. How often do we speak of other people? And how do we speak of other people? And is it in a way that those individuals would not want? There you go. And what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If we can talk about those other people, they can talk about us. And I don't love the thought of others discussing me in their homes. Just something to think about. I'll close with this, totally off topic. We had an uncharacteristically cool day here in Greensboro. It felt like October. I am wearing long sleeves. And yes, this is my Where's Waldo shirt. I can't even wear this shirt when I teach anymore because the kids just won't let the joke go. Oh, I found you. Where's Waldo? Oh, there's Mr. Roberts. I couldn't find you. I had to search. I get it. It's cute. Anyhow, it was cool today, and it felt like October. So I had these long sleeves on, and it made me think of something my mom used to say when I was little. If it were cool weather and I wanted to wear shorts, she'd say, no, we're not forcing the seasons. You ever say that? You ever hear that? Here in North Carolina, I see people wear shorts 365 days a year. My mother would lose her mind. You do not wear shorts in March. You do not wear shorts in November. You certainly don't wear shorts in January. And for her, it was appropriate to the season. And I think very similarly. I want summer to be summer. That's why I love the heat. I love a hot summer. So that when fall gets here, I'm ready for fall. And then when fall moves into winter, I'm ready for winter. I want to experience the seasons, enjoy the seasons, and as my mom would say, not force the seasons. Y'all have a great week. Hope all is going well. Lots of love. Bye-bye.